Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yankee and the Brit. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. And today we're going to talk about Kevin Durant and Michael Rapaport. But before we start, I just want to give a shout out to Rachel at CNR Crafts for hooking me up with this fat Yankee and the Brit shirt. Thank you so much, Rachel. All right, Maddie. I'm going to start off by saying with the whole Kevin Durant, Michael Rapaport thing is I am actually a fan of Michael Rapaport. And I'm not the biggest fan of KD, not to take away from his greatness. Let me say that again, his greatness before people crush me. I just don't like how KD's handled some things over the years. But I'm on Kevin Durant's side on this one, and it bothers me. And after talking to you, I'm not sure if it's maybe a generational thing or if I'm just an asshole. But it really bothers me that Michael Rapaport released these messages. And I know in his argument, his defense, he says, well, if you follow me, I release all of the DMs of people who say anti-Semitic things, who threaten him, or who say misogynistic things, which sure, and you do, which is fine. But your average citizen is not Kevin Durant, and he's not a superstar, and it's not going to make the front page of every big headline. And you just brought a lot of problems on yourself and on to Kevin Durant, because I watched him on Skip and Shannon, Michael Rapaport, and he in the text messages is making fun of Kevin Durant going, why don't you cry? But he literally cried on Undisputed. So, like, I don't know. I think that him and Kevin Durant just had a alpha pissing contest over DMs that got out of hand. Neither one of them were going to do shit physically. It was just talking. And the fact that we found out about it is where my problem is.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you said, but I do want to ask the question to the audience who are thinking about it. And Michael Rapaport came on to Undisputed and said, I didn't want to make it anything bigger than it was. He didn't want to make it a race issue, a homophobic issue, or anything like that. Well, don't release those messages then about a celebrity if you don't want to do that, because if he's sending homophobic things that can be taken as racist, then it's going to become that, because celebrities, they're held to a higher standard than the rest of us, and they should be, because Kevin Durant is one of the biggest role models for a lot of people, and if they see him doing that, then it's not acceptable. And I do think that Kevin Durant deserved to be taken down a peg. But if Kevin Durant sends those messages to a woman saying, I'm going to spit on you when I see you, I'm going to come meet me here, what's your address, which he could easily find out Michael Rapaport's address as well. And then the fact that Michael Rapaport said in the Undisputed interview, which I don't entirely believe everything he said in that interview. We've got to remember the dude's an actor, but he went to his coffee shop and people were calling him Cupcake for being offended by that kind of thing. If a woman got those same messages to her, every guy would be like, oh, how dare you say that? Like, how dare you say that? Threaten a woman, come threaten me, then you're acting so big. And you're thinking, well, yeah, maybe I don't think Michael Rapaport should be getting the hate that he's getting for releasing the DMs. He also shouldn't have released them, but once they were released, I think the public then have targeted him instead of kind of targeting Kevin Durant, what Kevin Durant said is disgusting. Let's not get that twisted. If somebody sent that to me, I wouldn't be letting them off. And the best way to get at a person like Kevin Durant, which we've decided not to talk about the Deshaun Watson issue on here, because we think we can't say stuff about it until we've got evidence either way. We can't, we don't want to touch
right. We can't intelligently talk about it right now. Exactly. So we're not going to speak on it.
Exactly. But the reason that Deshaun Watson, the best way that they found to get to Deshaun Watson is put it in the public opinion. That's their money, and that's the best way that Michael Rapaport had of getting at Kevin Durant for the disgusting things he said. And he got to him. Kevin Durant's been fined $50,000, which, obviously as a normal citizen, you think, holy shit, you've been fined $50,000. But you see people on these American shows in Judge Mathis, Judge Jerry, Judge Judy, all of that kind of stuff. You see people getting sued $5,000 for a lot less. And when you do that, you can't say that kind of shit in this modern day thing. Like, you can't say it.
I agree, but somebody who grew up in the 90s and things were a lot different, and it's not, I'm not saying they were better because they weren't. It was just different. I like the fact that people are more aware of what's offensive to other people, because there was words that were used in my generation that never were even thought twice or even used in the term that they were meant, but it was still offensive to certain groups of people.
Even the same with me at school. Even the same with me. Like, it moves that quickly. Like, I do get exactly what you mean.
But as somebody who grew up in the 90s, I do not find their text messages to be racist or homophobic, but I get why people do. I do not think Michael Rapaport was being racist when he told him to go help people in Brownsville, even though it is a majority Black community, because Definitely. Michael Rapaport grew up with his best friend in Brownsville, playing basketball in Brownsville. So I think what he was saying is go help those kids who need you. It came off wrong. Like, leave me alone, shut the fuck up and go do something positive. Yeah. And when Kevin Durant called him a cocksucker, I don't think he meant it as in the fact that he actually sucks cock.
Oh, there is a problem with anybody who does suck cock.
Right. I think he meant as in you're blowing the media for attention. Like, you're an attention-starved has-been. I don't think, but I get why it was disturbing, and it is the wrong words, and nobody should be saying that to each other in this day and age. But I don't think it was homophobic. I don't think it was racist. And the only part of those text messages that bothered me was when he brought his wife into it.
Once you bring the family into it, it then steps into a totally another issue, doesn't it? Like, that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it?
That's
like, I agree with you. Like, if somebody was sending me those kind of messages, one, I would block them like straight away. As soon as I received anything like that, you block it straight away. And two, I would be like, you can say all this stuff about me. Like, let's put ourselves in like their shoes. Like, Michael Rapaport is a successful actor. He's also managed to get himself a gig doing exactly what we love to do and he loves to do, which is he talks about sports regularly as well as his other job. And you think, you don't need to engage in this. And the same way that Kevin Durant, there is absolutely no need for you to engage in this, you know? So you think, just stop engaging with it. But as soon as your family gets brought into it, I would do anything in my power to be like, to hurt the person who brought my family into it. I'd be like, right then, if you want to do this, let's do this. And that's what Michael Rapaport did. The best way to get to these people, to get to these ultra famous people who are making millions and millions of dollars, is to crush them in the court of public opinion. It's what's happened to David Dobrik recently. Like, I don't know whether you're familiar with David Dobrik. He's a YouTuber who's being cancelled at the minute. He was the biggest YouTuber, one of the richest guys on YouTube, and he's being cancelled over his friend's rape allegations. And they're saying that David Dobrik knew about it, but like, you're held to a higher standard. And the people who wanted to crush David Dobrik knew the only way to take this guy down is public opinion. And that's what Michael Rapaport's done from how I've seen it.
Okay, disclaimer. I'm a fucking idiot. So the second he would have brought up my wife, I'd have met Kevin Durant on 12th Street or 10th Avenue, 10th Street, whatever. But I'm a fucking idiot, and that is not the best way to handle things, okay? But all the rest of it, I would have let just slide off my back. The whole white, even mentioning my family is a problem with me in something like this. But it doesn't surprise me it went to this, because this is what Michael Rapaport does. He attacks athletes and different celebrities and Donald Trump and whoever on social media. This is his thing. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's a podcaster.
He's good at it. Like, he is good at it.
Social media star.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, we already know, is petty. This is a guy who had burner accounts for Twitter. This is a guy who let the media get to him. And I know people in my generation want to be like, shut up and stop being that way. You would have never seen Larry Bird or Michael Jordan. Well, you know what? Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, and all of them never had to deal with Twitter and Facebook and all that.
Imagine Michael Jordan on social media. I'm sorry, but Michael Jordan is one of the pettiest.
He was petty as shit. He was one of the most petty athletes. That's what made him great.
He just didn't have social media to do that. He could go home and just vent. But if you give somebody a phone and say, go home, don't worry about it, they'll vent online. Like, you know?
I just hate that it turned into the NBA had to get involved and they had to give Kevin Durant a little spanking. And now Michael Rapaport,
I respect that from the NBA.
No, I hate the fact that it went to the fact point that they even had to get involved. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I hate that it got out into the public. I think these two have went back and forth for so many years, and they've done actually little skits on Kevin Durant's YouTube channel and stuff together. I don't think this needed to be what it was. And I think it's a whole lot to do about nothing that got blown out of proportion. That's going to hurt both of them.
I agree with you. If this was a normal person, like you wouldn't want, say it's you or me, you wouldn't want, like, say I've texted you all the horrible, like I've been goading you, and then you're Kevin Durant and you text me all the horrible shit. I wouldn't go to your job and try and get you fired over that.
Right.
Like that, I wouldn't do that. But Kevin Durant is a role model, and sometimes you've got to say, hang on, we're the NBA, you're the face of the NBA. You need to be bigger than this. Millions and millions and millions of kids watch you. And the reason we were just talking about how things move so quickly and what's offensive, what's not offensive. And I'm not against that. Like, if anybody's offended by anything that I say, I'm like, I do like to apologize to them and say, I'm sorry you're offended. I will consider changing the way that I speak. Obviously, if you're the only person that's offended and 99% of people are like, and you're just being a bit ridiculous, then I'll take what you say on board and then see if it changes. But Kevin Durant is a role model, and the way that moves forward and the way we get to a better society is by our role models showing what should be said. And there are problems in certain American communities and in certain communities in the UK as well, where this kind of language is used because they see role models using it. And like, just to go on the bigger scale, that's how Trump gets into office. Like, people think this is acceptable because they see their stars saying it.
The only problem I have with that is I'm on the Charles Barkley train of thought. Like, athletes should not be automatically expected to be role models. Kevin Durant never asked to be a role model. Your parents should be your role model, your teachers, your coaches, whoever. I get that we put them on a pedestal. I don't like it. But my only argument and I don't disagree with anything you were saying, and I don't like to offend people. And if I do, I try not to do it again. And I just think that these two, I'm not saying they were close friends, but they have a relationship. They've done work together. They've bantered back and forth. They actually know each other personally. I don't think they should have went this far to where you and I even know about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Rapaport should have said, look, man,
or block them, like you said. Just be the adult.
Be the bigger guy. But that's not what Rapaport does. But it's like they are held to a higher standard because, like, when you're getting paid that much money, like, oh, I've not been asked to be a role model, and it's like, that's how it works. Like, you're getting put on all the NBA posters. Like, if you don't want to be the role model, give some of the money back that you've got for advertising. You know. Just play the game.
But are you getting paid to be a role model, or are you getting paid to sell the shoes?
Some companies, but like, companies expect you to be a role model for their brand. Like, companies expect you not to get in trouble for their brand, you know?
Right. Not getting
just to go back to David Dobrik. David Dobrik has now got all of his sponsors taken off him for something that somebody else did that he associates with.
But I don't know I just hate the fact that you take this person who's good at a certain thing and just go, all right, we're going to look up to him. And it just drives me insane. It was like so many people got crushed when the whole Michael Vick and dogfighting thing happened, right? And I was horrified for the animals, but that's a whole different, whatever, But I didn't get where, like, how this athlete doing some dumb shit really crushed your world beliefs. It's like, maybe you shouldn't put that much stock into.
Exactly. Tiger Woods and his his car, but I'm not saying like base your whole world beliefs. I'm not saying that. And for people who don't have like fathers, let's say, then that kind of guy that you see on TV that you can emulate becomes a big star. And it happens in all communities, all walks of life, where, so like I used to really want to be in musicals when I was younger. So I would see like Alfie Boe and be like, I want to be like that guy. And if Alfie Boe did something, then I would be like, oh, maybe that's a good decision for me to do. And I know that's not the same as putting on a sports star, you know, but
No, I agree with what
you
you're
know?
saying, and maybe just probably quit here because it's probably more of a parenting issue than anything, and I don't want to get into a parenting issue on a sports show. But like, I'm just with the fact that I just think this got so blown out of proportion,
Yeah.
and they had the absolute worst luck or timing, not luck, of doing it when there really ain't shit to talk about in
Yeah, and
sports.
Rapaport admitted that on his on Undisputed. He came out and said, I didn't want this to turn into anything bigger. It shouldn't be any bigger than it actually was. I wanted to come forward and say, this is how Kevin Durant speaks. This is unacceptable, and then move on from it. And it's like, well, you should know that that's not how it's going to go down. But at the same time, fair play for coming out and admitting it. All that it is you've got to have in your mind that certain people will see this and think that is acceptable to talk that way, who are on Kevin Durant's side, and they need to know that it's not acceptable. Like Kevin Durant needs to come out now and say what I said wasn't acceptable, which I think he has. He has come out and apologized.
He made some statement. I don't know if he tweeted it or actually said it.
Yeah.
I read it.
And it's like, you can't just say, like, people will see Kevin Durant do it and will go out and think it's okay to call people cocksuckers or pale, pasty, milky skin people or whatever he said. I don't find it like, as a white man, I don't find it racist. I'm not bothered. Like, I am a pale skin. Like, I'm the palest of skin. We were just talking about sunburn that British people get. Like, I'm not bothered, but like, you just, as a big star, you can't say that kind of stuff if you don't want to get fined. If you're not bothered about being the role model, keep doing it and get fined. Like, that's also okay, but that you're getting paid to be a role model. Like, that is part of the job, you know, like, but you can reject that part of the job and get fined if you want to. Like, a 50 grand fine is nothing to Kevin Durant. So if he wants to continue, then that's okay as well. But he just needs to know the repercussions.
Paid not to be an asshole.
Yeah, you're getting paid. You can be an asshole in private. Like,
right.
And I know, like, oh, this is private, but you're doing it to Michael Rapaport, who has a whole segment where if people say offensive stuff to him, he shames them. So you're doing it to a guy who you know does this.
Well, him and Kevin Durant did a segment where Kevin Durant read his DMs of negative stuff people said to him.
Yeah.
So, like, it happens. And the thing is, like I said, they have a better relationship than what's going on. They should have dealt with it internally. However, but
Michael Rapaport should have said, look, man, don't say that again, or I'll have no choice but to do this. And then if he continues, then Rapaport is within his full right of doing this. You can also take people to court over stuff like that.
Right. And I don't want people to think I'm saying that what they said isn't homophobic and it isn't racist.
Yeah, don't worry, nobody's saying that.
I don't believe Michael Rapaport or Kevin Durant are racist, and I don't believe they're homophobic either. That's all I'm saying. I just wanted to clarify, I'm not justifying anything they said. I'm just giving you my opinion that I think if calling them racist or homophobic is actually jumping the gun.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, like, when you're holding people to a higher standard, you tend to hold them to your higher standard. So, like, I'm from a middle class background in the UK. Like, my higher standard is very different to somebody who's had to fight and struggle their way through, and they're from a different era to me, and they're from a different place to me, you know. So, like, not like their standard of language is very different to where I come from. Like, we wouldn't, like, if you swear in our neighborhood, then you get looked at funny. It's that.
I don't want to get off the subject too much, but to clarify exactly what you're saying, I have a 96-year-old neighbor. She is awesome. She's an amazing lady, right? And I had two of my black friends over helping me last summer, 2 summers ago. She walks across the street and she says, it is so nice that those 2 colored boys are helping you. Okay. In 2018, that is racist as shit. Yeah, but nobody took it racist, not even my friends, because in her time, it was the most respectful thing that was said. So she was not trying to be racist.
Yeah.
She just happened to say some racist shit.
Yeah, I mean, you also can't, like, you also do have to hold those people to that standard. But if they're talking as mates, you know, and they're talking, and, you know, like, you wouldn't expect Kevin Durant to say any of this stuff if he thought it was going public. You know, like, he knows that's the wrong thing to say for his, like, his brand of, I'm a role model. I know I can't say that stuff. So I feel like it should be dealt with now. Michael Rapaport needs to stop going on talk shows talking about it. He must have known he was going to take his licks. Like, he should know he's going to go to coffee shops in New York where Kevin Durant is now a player for the Brooklyn Nets and they're doing really well, and he's going to get some hate, you know? Like, he should know that. But anyway, I think that's possibly the first controversial topic we've tried to get around, and I hope we haven't offended anybody, and I hope everything that we said is okay. And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, and if we offended anybody, just tell us to go fuck ourselves, and we're cool with that too. So
Yeah, help us improve also. That'd be great.
absolutely. We only get better by sharing information, right? We all cannot know all things. So
yeah, and it's like, if we did anything that upset anybody, please let us know. Then that'd be great. Let us know by private message, though, not in the comments, because that could affect us getting any sponsors in the future. But, you know, that's fine.
And we won't put you on blast if you DM us. So, Kevin, feel free. If you're watching,
yeah, man.
hit us up on the DM. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.